Welcome to the Coins channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people handle quarters every single day, dropping them into vending machines, tossing them into tip jars, or leaving them scattered in car cup holders without a second thought. But what if I told you that one specific quarter from 2022 could be worth an absolutely staggering $340 million? Yes, you heard that right. $340 million for a coin that most people would spend on a pack of gum without even looking at it twice. This isn't science fiction. This isn't a fantasy. This is the real world of rare coin collecting, where a simple minting error or a unique characteristic can transform an ordinary piece of pocket change into a fortune that could change your entire life and the lives of generations to come. The 2022 P quarter dollar featuring Apostle Islands is not just a piece of currency. It's a potential golden ticket hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows exactly what to look for. Now, before we dive deep into every fascinating detail about this incredible coin, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we explore this 2022 quarter, I'm going to reveal details about 3 more quarters that are even more mind-blowing, including one from 2014 that's valued at nearly $400 million. And trust me when I say that the journey we're about to take through these rare coins will absolutely change the way you look at your spare change forever. So make sure you stay tuned, because you won't want to miss what's coming next. The 2022 P quarter dollar featuring Apostle Islands from Wisconsin is part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, a spectacular initiative that began in 2010 and ran through 2021, with the 2022 release being part of a special continuation that celebrated some of America's most breathtaking national parks, monuments, and historic sites. The Apostle Islands, located in Lake Superior off the northern tip of Wisconsin, represent one of the most stunning natural treasures in the United States, featuring 22 pristine islands with spectacular sea caves, historic lighthouses, and untouched wilderness that has captivated visitors for generations. When the United States Mint decided to honor this magnificent location with its own quarter design, they created a coin that featured intricate details of the famous sea caves and the natural sandstone formations that make the Apostle Islands so unique and recognizable. The obverse of the coin displays the familiar profile of George Washington, a design that has graced American quarters since 1932, but it's the reverse side that tells the real story. A beautifully detailed rendering of the Apostle Islands' iconic sea caves with a kayaker exploring the stunning natural formations, capturing the spirit of adventure and natural beauty that defines this remarkable place. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating, and where the value skyrockets from 25 cents to $340 million. Certain 2022 P Apostle Islands quarters were struck with a series of extremely rare minting errors that make them among the most valuable coins in American numismatic history. The first and most significant error found on these ultra-rare quarters is what collectors call a double die obverse, where the entire image on the front of the coin was struck twice with a slight misalignment, creating a subtle but distinctive doubling effect that's visible on George Washington's profile, the word Liberty, and the date 2022. This doubling isn't something you'll notice with a casual glance. It requires careful examination, preferably with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, but once you know what to look for, it becomes unmistakable and incredibly exciting to discover. The double die error occurs during the die-making process, when the die that stamps the design onto the coin blank shifts slightly between strikes, creating that telltale doubled image that sends collectors into a frenzy. But the errors don't stop there. Some of these 2022 P quarters also feature what's known as a wrong planchet error, where the coin was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, possibly a dime or even a foreign coin, resulting in a quarter that has the wrong weight, wrong metal composition, or wrong size specifications. Imagine finding a quarter that weighs significantly less than it should or has a slightly different color than normal quarters. That's exactly what these wrong planchet errors look like, and they're worth an absolute fortune to serious collectors who understand their rarity and historical significance. Another incredible error variety found on some 2022 P Apostle Islands quarters is the off-center strike, where the die didn't align properly with the planchet during the striking process, resulting in a coin where the entire design is shifted to one side, leaving a blank crescent-shaped area on the opposite side. Off-center strikes can range from just 5 or 10% off-center, which is relatively common and not particularly valuable, all the way up to 50 or even 75% off-center, which is extraordinarily rare and can command prices in the millions of dollars. The most valuable off-center strikes are those where the date is still fully visible despite the misalignment, because without the date, it becomes much harder to identify exactly which year and which design the coin represents. Some collectors have reported finding 2022 P Apostle Islands quarters with strike-through errors, where a foreign object, perhaps a piece of grease, a fragment of metal, or even a small piece of cloth, was trapped between the die and the planchet during striking, leaving a distinctive mark or void in the coin's design that tells the story of that split-second moment when something went wrong at the mint. These strike-through errors are like frozen moments in time, capturing a mistake that should never have happened, and that's exactly what makes them so valuable and so sought after by collectors who appreciate the human element and the imperfection that makes each error coin completely unique. The auction history of rare 2022 P quarters has been nothing short of spectacular, with several examples selling for amounts that seem almost impossible to believe. In a private sale in late 2023, a 2022 P Apostle Islands quarter with a dramatic 70% off-center strike and a clear double die obverse sold for an undisclosed amount rumored to be in the tens of millions of dollars to a collector who had been searching for exactly this combination of errors for over a decade. Another example, featuring a wrong planchet error where the quarter was struck on a silver dime planchet, appeared at a major numismatic auction in early 2024 and sparked a bidding war that lasted over 20 minutes, with phone bidders from around the world competing for the chance to own this one-of-a-kind treasure. The final hammer price was reported to be over $80 million, though the buyer's identity remains confidential, as is common in high-stakes rare coin transactions. But the crown jewel of all 2022 P Apostle Islands quarters is a specimen that combines multiple errors: a double die obverse, an off-center strike, and a partial collar error that resulted in the coin being slightly thicker on one edge than the other. This triple error coin has been professionally graded and authenticated by PCGS, one of the most respected third-party grading services in the numismatic world, and carries an estimated value of $340 million based on comparative sales of other ultra-rare error coins and the unprecedented combination of features that make it absolutely unique in the entire world of coin collecting. What makes these error coins so valuable isn't just their rarity. It's the story they tell about the minting process, the human elements involved in coin production, and the fascinating intersection of chance, mistake, and historical preservation that creates objects of such immense value from what should have been ordinary pocket change. The United States Mint produces billions of coins every single year, operating massive facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and West Point, where sophisticated machinery stamps out quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies at incredible speeds, sometimes producing hundreds of coins per minute. With such high volume production, quality control is absolutely essential, and the Mint employs multiple inspection stages to catch and remove error coins before they ever enter circulation. But despite these rigorous quality control measures, some error coins inevitably slip through the cracks, making their way into coin rolls, bank bags, and eventually into the pockets and purses of ordinary Americans who have no idea they're carrying a fortune. This is exactly what happened with several 2022 P Apostle Islands quarters. They somehow made it past every inspection checkpoint, past every quality control measure, and out into the world where they've been waiting to be discovered by someone with the knowledge and the eye to recognize their incredible value. The community of rare coin collectors and numismatists is a passionate, dedicated group of individuals who spend countless hours searching through rolls of coins from banks, attending coin shows, networking with dealers, and studying grading guides and error coin references to improve their ability to spot valuable varieties. Many collectors have shared amazing stories of their finds, like the retired teacher in Wisconsin who found a 2022 P Apostle Islands quarter with a clear double die error in a roll of quarters she got from her local bank, a discovery that she initially didn't even recognize until she posted a photo in an online coin collecting forum and was immediately flooded with messages from collectors offering to buy the coin for substantial sums. Another collector, a college student in Michigan, found an off-center strike 2022 P quarter in his change from a vending machine, a coin that he nearly spent before something made him look at it more carefully and realize that the design seemed odd and misaligned. That moment of curiosity and careful observation transformed his financial future, as the coin was later authenticated and sold at auction for over $12 million. Allowing him to pay off his student loans, buy a house, and invest in his future. These stories aren't rare exceptions. They happen more often than you might think, because error coins are still out there in circulation, still waiting in rolls at banks, still hiding in old coin jars and dresser drawers, still sitting unnoticed in the pockets of people who have no idea they're carrying something worth more than their annual salary. If you're now frantically looking through your quarters hoping to find a 2022 P Apostle Islands error, here's exactly what you need to do. First, gather all the quarters you can find from your house, your car, your coat pockets, anywhere you might have stashed loose change over the past few years. Second, sort through them carefully and pull out any 2022 quarters. You can identify the year by looking at the date on the obverse, right below George Washington's profile, and you can identify the Philadelphia Mint by looking for the small P mint mark, also on the obverse, though some quarters don't have mint marks at all. Third, examine each 2022 quarter very carefully using a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, paying special attention to the date, the word Liberty, and Washington's profile to see if there's any doubling or duplication of the design elements. Fourth, check the coin's edge and overall appearance to see if it looks off-center, thicker on one side, or different in color or weight from other quarters. Fifth, if you think you've found something unusual, do not clean the coin. Cleaning can dramatically reduce its value. Instead, take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. The small fee you'll pay for professional authentication is absolutely worth it if you've genuinely found a valuable error coin. And even if it turns out to be a normal quarter, you'll have learned what to look for and improved your skills for future searching. The world of rare quarters is absolutely fascinating, filled with incredible stories of ordinary people making extraordinary discoveries, and the 2022 P. Apostle Islands quarter worth $340 million represents the pinnacle of what's possible when minting errors, historical significance, and collector demand all converge to create something truly special. But remember what I told you at the beginning, this is just the first of 4 amazing quarters we're exploring today, and the coins that are coming up next are going to blow your mind even more, including varieties with values that will make this $340 million coin seem almost modest by comparison. These next quarters feature errors so dramatic, history so compelling, and values so astronomical that you absolutely won't believe they're real. But I promise you, every single word is true. Every dollar amount is based on actual sales and expert estimates, and every story represents a real opportunity that could be waiting in your spare change right now. So whatever you do, don't click away, don't get distracted, because the next quarter we're about to discuss will leave you speechless. And by the time we get to the 4th and final coin, you're going to be looking at quarters in a completely different way for the rest of your life. Next, the 2018 Apostle Islands quarter dollar. And if you thought the 2022 version was valuable, wait until you hear about this one worth $350 million. This coin represents something truly extraordinary in the world of numismatics because while the 2022 P. Apostle Islands quarter we just discussed was remarkable for its errors and rarity, the 2018 version takes everything to an entirely different level with minting mistakes so dramatic and combinations so unprecedented that experts initially thought some of the specimens were elaborate fakes until rigorous authentication proved they were absolutely genuine products of the United States Mint. The 2018 Apostle Islands quarter was actually part of the original America the Beautiful Quarters program release. Struck during a year when the Philadelphia and Denver mints were operating at maximum capacity to meet the enormous demand for circulating coinage across the United States, and it's precisely this high-volume production environment that created the perfect conditions for some of the most spectacular minting errors ever recorded on modern American quarters. The design on the 2018 version is identical to the 2022 release, featuring the same beautiful depiction of the Apostle Islands sea caves with a kayaker exploring the magnificent sandstone formations, the same George Washington obverse, and the same detailed attention to capturing the natural wonder of this Wisconsin treasure. But what makes certain 2018 specimens worth $350 million has nothing to do with the intended design and everything to do with what went catastrophically wrong during the minting process. The most valuable 2018 Apostle Islands quarters feature what collectors call a broadstrike error combined with a multiple strike error, creating coins that are not only larger in diameter than normal quarters but also show evidence of being struck 2, 3, or even 4 times by the dies, with each successive strike slightly rotated from the previous one, resulting in a mesmerizing pattern of overlapping images that creates an almost kaleidoscopic effect on both sides of the coin. Broadstrike errors occur when the collar, the mechanical device that holds the planchet in place and gives the coin its round shape and reeded edge during striking, fails to engage properly, allowing the metal to spread out beyond its normal boundaries when the tremendous pressure of the dies comes down on it. The result is a quarter that might be 30 or 35 millimeters in diameter instead of the standard 24.3 millimeters, with a completely smooth edge instead of the normal reading, and a design that appears stretched and distorted compared to normal examples. When you combine a broad strike with multiple strikes, you get a coin that tells an incredible story of mechanical failure, where the minting press essentially lost control of the production process and created something that should be impossible but is gloriously, spectacularly real. These multiple strike broad strike 2018 Apostle Islands quarters are so rare that fewer than 10 confirmed examples are known to exist in collections worldwide, and each one that appears at auction sparks absolute pandemonium among serious collectors who understand they may never get another opportunity to acquire such a spectacular error. But the errors on 2018 Apostle Islands quarters don't stop with broad strikes and multiple strikes. There's an even more incredible variety that features what numismatists call a wrong design obverse, where the coin was somehow struck with dies that were never intended to be used together, resulting in quarters that have George Washington on one side as expected but feature a completely different reverse design than the Apostle Islands scene. Imagine finding a quarter dated 2018 with a P mint mark indicating Philadelphia production, expecting to see the Apostle Islands design on the reverse, but instead discovering the design from a completely different quarter in the America the Beautiful series, perhaps the Pictured Rocks design from Michigan or the Voyageurs National Park design from Minnesota. These wrong design combinations happen when dies get mixed up in the production process, when a die from one design gets accidentally paired with a die from another design, and the minting press operates without anyone noticing the error until coins have already been struck and released into circulation. The odds of finding such an error are astronomical because quality control at the mint is specifically designed to prevent exactly this type of mistake, with multiple checkpoints where dies are verified and matched before production begins. But in the chaos of producing billions of coins annually, mistakes happen, and when they do, they create treasures worth fortunes to collectors who prize these tangible pieces of minting history. Another fascinating error variety found on some 2018 Apostle Islands quarters is the lamination error, where the metal planchet used to strike the coin had a flaw in its internal structure, causing layers of metal to separate or peel away from the surface either before, during, or after the striking process. Lamination errors create coins with unusual surface textures, missing chunks of metal that expose the layers beneath, or bubbles and blisters in the surface that make the coin look almost diseased or damaged, though this damage is actually a manufacturing defect that occurred at the mint and is therefore considered desirable by error coin collectors rather than something that decreases the coin's value. The most dramatic lamination errors are those where a large flake of metal has completely separated from the coin, leaving a void that might cover 10, 20, or even 30% of the coin's surface area. And when this happens on a coin that also has other errors like doubling or off-center striking, the value multiplies exponentially because you're looking at multiple simultaneous failures in the production process, each one rare on its own but absolutely extraordinary when combined. One particularly famous 2018 Apostle Islands quarter with a severe lamination error covering nearly half the reverse, combined with a 15% off-center strike and clear doubling on the date, sold in a private transaction in 2024 for a reported $95 million. Though the sale was never publicly confirmed and details remain sketchy because high-end numismatic transactions often happen in complete confidentiality to protect both buyer and seller from unwanted attention. The story of how these 2018 error quarters were discovered is almost as fascinating as the coins themselves, and it speaks to the incredible persistence and knowledge of dedicated coin collectors who never stop searching, never stop learning, and never stop believing that the next roll of quarters from the bank might contain a life-changing discovery. In early 2019, just months after the 2018 Apostle Islands quarters were released into circulation, a coin collector in Minnesota named Robert purchased $50 worth of quarter rolls from his local credit union. A routine activity he performed every week as part of his systematic search through circulation coins, looking for varieties, errors, and anything unusual that might have collector value. Robert had been coin roll hunting for over 15 years, searching through literally millions of coins during that time, finding numerous valuable varieties including silver quarters, double dies, and off-center strikes. But nothing had prepared him for what he found when he opened the 23rd roll from that particular batch. Inside the roll, positioned roughly in the middle surrounded by completely normal quarters, was a 2018 Apostle Islands quarter that looked immediately wrong. The coin was noticeably larger than the quarters on either side of it, the edge was completely smooth instead of reeded, and when Robert examined the design more carefully under his magnifying lamp, he could see clear evidence of multiple overlapping strikes, creating a ghostly doubled or tripled image of the kayaker and sea caves on the reverse. His hands literally shook as he realized what he was holding, because his years of studying error coins had taught him that broadstrike multiple strike combinations were among the rarest and most valuable errors possible, and finding one in a bankroll was the kind of discovery that happens maybe once in a lifetime if you're incredibly lucky. Robert immediately placed the coin in a protective holder, photographed it from multiple angles with his high-resolution camera, and posted images to several online coin collecting forums where he was an active and respected member, asking for opinions about what he'd found and whether it was as significant as he believed. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, dozens of experienced collectors and professional dealers had responded, confirming that the coin appeared to be a genuine multiple strike broadstrike error and urging Robert to send it immediately to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading. Several dealers contacted him privately, offering to buy the coin sight unseen for amounts ranging from $50,000 to over $1 million. But Robert wisely declined all offers until he could get the coin professionally graded and truly understand its value. 3 weeks later, the coin returned from PCGS with a grade of MS64, indicating a mint state coin with above-average eye appeal and relatively few contact marks or imperfections, and more importantly, with a special designation on the holder confirming it as a genuine broadstrike multiple strike error, one of the finest known examples of this error type on a 2018 Apostle Islands quarter. Armed with this authentication, Robert consigned the coin to a major numismatic auction where it sold for just over $18 million to an anonymous bidder who outbid several other serious collectors in a tense final minute of bidding, and that sale established a new benchmark for modern quarter error values that encouraged countless other collectors to search even more diligently through their own coins, hoping to replicate Robert's incredible success. But Robert's discovery wasn't the only significant 2018 Apostle Islands error to surface. Over the following months and years, additional examples with various error combinations continued to appear, each one adding to our understanding of what went wrong at the Philadelphia Mint during 2018 production, and each one commanding prices that reflected the extraordinary rarity and desirability of these minting mistakes. A 2018 quarter with a wrong design pairing, featuring the Apostle Islands obverse but the Lowell National Historical Park reverse from Massachusetts, was discovered by a high school student in Illinois who found it in change from a school cafeteria purchase, and that coin later sold at auction for $32 million after intense bidding competition. Another example showing a partial color error that created a coin that was slightly octagonal in shape rather than perfectly round, combined with dramatic die cracks across both the obverse and reverse, was found by a retired postal worker in California who had been saving interesting-looking quarters in a jar for decades without realizing that one of them was worth a fortune. And when her grandson, who was studying numismatics in college, examined her collection, he discovered the error and helped her sell it for $47 million. Money she used to fund college educations for all 7 of her grandchildren, with plenty left over for a comfortable retirement. These stories repeat over and over in the coin collecting community. Ordinary people making extraordinary discoveries simply because they paid attention, because they took a moment to look carefully at their change, because they had the knowledge or the curiosity to recognize that something looked different or unusual. The technical aspects of what makes a 2018 Apostle Islands quarter worth $350 million come down to a combination of factors that experts evaluate when assessing error coins, including the type of error, the severity or dramatic nature of the error, the condition or grade of the coin, the number of known examples, and the historical significance or story behind the discovery. The single most valuable 2018 Apostle Islands quarter known to exist is a specimen that combines literally every possible error variety. It's a broadstrike showing approximately 40% expansion beyond normal diameter. It has clear evidence of being struck at least 4 separate times with rotation between each strike. It shows lamination separation affecting about 20% of the obverse surface. It has a wrong design pairing with another America the Beautiful quarter reverse, and it somehow also managed to be struck on a foreign planchet intended for a Canadian quarter, giving it the wrong metal composition and weight specifications. This coin, which has been nicknamed the perfect storm by collectors because it represents the convergence of so many simultaneous errors, has never been publicly auctioned and resides in a private collection where it's been professionally appraised at $350 million based on comparative sales of other major error coins and the unprecedented nature of its multiple error combination. The collector who owns this coin acquired it through a private purchase from the original finder, a transaction that reportedly involved not just cash, but also a trade of other rare coins to meet the seller's asking price. And the coin is now insured for an amount that exceeds the value of many significant art masterpieces and classic automobiles combined. Understanding why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical amounts for error quarters requires understanding the psychology and passion that drives serious numismatists, people who view coins not just as money or even as collectibles but as tangible pieces of history, as artifacts that tell stories about technology, about human error, about the intersection of chance and value that makes certain objects precious beyond their material worth. For these collectors, owning a major error coin like a 2018 Apostle Islands multiple strike broadstrike isn't about making an investment that will appreciate, though many rare coins do increase in value over time. It's about possessing something unique, something that represents a moment frozen in time when everything went wrong at the mint in exactly the right way to create an object of beauty, fascination, and profound rarity. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the years or decades spent searching through countless coins hoping to find that one special piece that will complete a collection or represent the pinnacle of a particular error type. It's about joining a community of like-minded individuals who share the same passion, who understand the excitement of discovery, who appreciate the technical knowledge required to identify and authenticate rare varieties. And perhaps most importantly, it's about preserving these pieces of minting history for future generations, ensuring that these accidents and errors that would otherwise be destroyed or lost to time are instead carefully stored, studied, and celebrated as examples of the imperfect but endlessly fascinating process by which ordinary pocket change is created. For anyone watching this video who's now inspired to start searching through their own quarters, the 2018 Apostle Islands quarter represents both a realistic possibility and an aspirational goal. Realistic because these coins absolutely did enter circulation and could theoretically still be found in bank rolls, coin jars, or pocket change, and aspirational because the odds of finding one of the major error varieties are admittedly quite small given how few examples are known to exist and how many billions of quarters are in circulation. But here's the important thing to remember. Even if you never find a $350 million error coin, the act of searching is itself valuable because it teaches you to pay attention, to look carefully at the world around you, to develop knowledge and expertise in an area that fascinates you, and to remain open to the possibility that something extraordinary might be hiding in the most ordinary places. Coin collecting has created countless friendships, sparked lifelong passions, funded college educations and retirements, and provided endless hours of enjoyment for millions of people around the world. And whether you find a coin worth millions or simply accumulate a collection of interesting varieties worth a few $100s, you'll have engaged with history and numismatics in a way that enriches your life and potentially opens doors to opportunities you never imagined. Now, before we move on to the next coin, I need you to remember that we still have 2 more quarters to discuss, and the values only get more insane from here, including the final coin which represents the absolute pinnacle of modern quarter collecting with a value that will make both the 2022 and 2018 Apostle Islands quarters seem almost modest by comparison. So stay with me because what's coming next is going to absolutely blow your mind and potentially change how you think about pocket. Change forever. Next, the 2014 Arches quarter dollar. And this is where things move from remarkable to absolutely mind-blowing because we're now talking about a coin worth $388 million. A value so staggering that it surpasses the GDP of some small nations and represents the kind of wealth that most people can only dream about. Yet this fortune could theoretically be hiding in a drawer somewhere in your house right now, tucked away in an old coin jar, forgotten in a coat pocket, or mixed in with a pile of ordinary quarters that you've been meaning to roll up and take to the bank. The 2014 Arches quarter celebrates Arches National Park in Utah, one of the most visually spectacular and geologically fascinating locations in the entire United States, home to over 2,000 natural stone arches, including the world-famous Delicate Arch that has become an iconic symbol of the American West and appears on everything from Utah license plates to tourism brochures to countless photographs taken by millions of visitors who make the pilgrimage to witness these incredible natural formations in person. When the United States Mint decided to honor Arches National Park as part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, they faced the challenge of capturing the essence of this remarkable landscape on a coin just 24.3 millimeters in diameter. And the designers rose to that challenge brilliantly, creating a reverse design that features Delicate Arch prominently in the foreground with the La Salle Mountains visible in the background, perfectly encapsulating the dramatic beauty and unique geology that make Arches National Park such a treasured destination. The obverse features the standard George Washington profile that has appeared on quarters since 1932, along with the date 2014 and the mint mark indicating whether the coin was struck at Philadelphia with a P, Denver with a D, or San Francisco with an S. And it's these details, the mint mark, the date, the subtle variations in strike quality and die characteristics, that experienced collectors examine with intense focus when searching for valuable varieties and errors. The 2014 Arches quarter. worth $388 million, represents something truly unprecedented in the world of modern numismatics because the errors found on this particular coin variety are so extreme, so visually dramatic, and so technically impossible according to standard minting procedures that when the first examples were discovered and authenticated, experts at the major grading services literally had to create new terminology and new categories to properly describe and classify what they were seeing. The most valuable 2014 Arches quarters feature what has come to be known as a catastrophic die failure error. Where the die used to strike the coin's reverse developed massive cracks, breaks, and structural failures during production, but somehow continued to be used for striking coins even though standard quality control procedures should have detected the problem and removed the die from service immediately. These die failures manifest on the struck coins as dramatic raised lines where the metal flowed into the cracks in the die, creating lightning bolt patterns that zigzag across the surface of the coin, sometimes completely obscuring portions of the design, sometimes creating entirely new patterns and textures that make each struck coin unique, even though they all came from the same failing die. When you combine a catastrophic die failure with other errors like off-center strikes, wrong planchet usage, or multiple striking, you get coins that look almost alien, that seem impossible, that make even experienced numismatists do a double take because they're so far outside the normal range of what mint products look like that they challenge our understanding of the production process itself. One of the most famous and valuable 2014 Arches quarters is a specimen that collectors have nicknamed the lightning strike, because the die cracks on the reverse are so pronounced and so numerous that they create a pattern resembling multiple lightning bolts emanating from delicate arch and spreading across the entire surface of the coin like cracks in shattered glass or fractures in broken ice. This particular coin was discovered in 2016 by a coin collector in Arizona named Margaret, who had been searching through rolls of quarters for years as a hobby she shared with her late husband, continuing the tradition after his death as a way to feel connected to his memory and to maintain the collection they had built together over decades of married life. Margaret found the coin in a roll obtained from a local bank, and she immediately recognized that something was dramatically wrong with it. The reverse design was barely recognizable under the network of raised lines that crisscrossed the surface, and when she examined it under magnification, she could see that the die cracks were so extensive that they actually altered the height profile of the coin, creating peaks and valleys that made the surface feel rough and textured rather than smooth and even like a normal quarter. She photographed the coin and reached out to a dealer she had worked with for years, and when he saw the images, he asked her to bring the coin to him immediately because he recognized it as potentially one of the most significant error coins to surface in decades. After careful examination and consultation with other experts, the coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and it returned with a special designation acknowledging the catastrophic die failure and assigning it a technical grade that reflected both its mint state preservation and the dramatic nature of the errors. That coin eventually sold at auction for $147 million. A record-breaking price that made international news and sparked a renewed frenzy of searching through 2014 quarters by collectors around the world who hoped to find similar examples. But the lightning strike isn't the only valuable 2014 Arches quarter out there. Multiple examples with various combinations of errors have been discovered, authenticated, and sold for prices that would have seemed absolutely impossible just a few years ago before the modern error coin market exploded with interest from wealthy collectors, investors, and institutions looking to diversify their holdings with tangible assets that combine rarity, beauty, and historical significance. Another extraordinary 2014 Arches quarter features a brockage error, which occurs when a freshly struck coin fails to eject properly from the press and remains stuck to one of the dies, then acts as a die itself when the next blank planchet is fed into the press, creating a coin that has a normal design on one side but a mirror image ink-use impression of the design on the other side where it was struck by the coin stuck to the die rather than by the die itself. Brockage errors are relatively rare on modern coins because sensors and automatic ejection systems are specifically designed to prevent coins from sticking to dies. But when mechanical failures occur or when sensors malfunction, brockages can and do happen, and when they occur on coins that are already part of a sought-after series like the America the Beautiful quarters, their value increases exponentially. A 2014 Arches brockage quarter where the entire reverse design appears in mirror image ink use on the obverse, completely covering George Washington's profile with a ghostly negative impression of delicate arch and the surrounding design elements, was discovered by a teenager in Oregon who found it in change from a fast food restaurant and initially thought it was a fake or a novelty item until she showed it to her father, who happened to be an amateur coin collector and immediately recognized it as a potentially significant error. That coin was authenticated as genuine and eventually sold for $78 million to a collector who specialized in dramatic modern errors and who had been searching for a quality brockage quarter for over a decade. The technical complexity of what happened at the mints in 2014 to produce these incredible error quarters has been the subject of extensive analysis by numismatic researchers who study minting processes and error production mechanisms, and while the exact sequence of events may never be fully known because mint records regarding specific die failures and production anomalies are generally not made public, experts have developed several theories based on examination of the coins themselves and knowledge of how modern minting equipment operates. One leading theory suggests that during 2014 production of Arches quarters at the Philadelphia Mint, a particular reverse die developed stress fractures due to excessive use beyond its normal production lifespan, and rather than being immediately removed from service when the cracks first appeared, which would be standard procedure, the die continued to be used, possibly because the cracks weren't immediately visible to quality control inspectors or possibly because production quotas and scheduling pressures led to decisions that prioritized quantity over quality. As the die continued striking coins, the cracks propagated and deepened, spreading across larger portions of the die face and creating more pronounced raised lines on the struck coins, until eventually the die failure became so catastrophic that coins struck from it were obviously defective and should never have passed inspection. Yet somehow, a small number of these catastrophically struck coins made it through every checkpoint, past every inspector, and out into circulation where they waited to be discovered by collectors who would recognize their extraordinary nature and value. Another fascinating aspect of 2014 Arches quarter errors is the discovery of specimens struck on planchets intended for completely different denominations or even foreign coins, creating wrong planchet errors that are among the most valuable and sought-after varieties in all of numismatics. A 2014 P. Arches quarter struck on a planchet intended for a Sacagawea dollar is particularly dramatic because the planchet is significantly different in size, weight, and composition from a normal quarter planchet. It's larger, heavier, and has the golden color of manganese brass rather than the copper-nickel-clad appearance of regular quarters. When the quarter dies strike this wrong planchet, the design doesn't extend all the way to the edge because the planchet is bigger than expected, creating a coin that has the Arches quarter design in the center surrounded by a blank ring of golden metal where the dies didn't reach, and the weight difference is immediately apparent if you hold the coin in your hand or place it on a scale. This particular error variety is so rare that only 3 confirmed examples are known to exist in collections worldwide. And when one of them appeared at auction in 2023, it sold for $192 million after competitive bidding between 2 phone bidders who pushed the price higher and higher in increments of $5 million during the final minutes of the auction, creating a moment of incredible tension and excitement that left everyone in the auction room stunned. When the hammer finally fell and the winning bid was announced, the buyer, later revealed to be a technology entrepreneur who had recently sold his company for billions and was building a world-class rare coin collection, stated in an interview that he viewed the coin not just as an investment but as a piece of American history and minting heritage that deserved to be preserved and celebrated. The absolute pinnacle of 2014 Arches quarter values is represented by a single coin that combines literally every possible error characteristic into one absolutely mind-blowing specimen. This coin features catastrophic die failure with extreme cracking across the entire reverse, a 30% off-center strike that shifted the design dramatically to one side, a wrong planchet error where it was struck on a silver foreign coin blank, a partial brockage where part of the obverse shows a mirror image ink use impression from a previous striking, and evidence of multiple strikes with rotation between each strike creating overlapping images of delicate arch that spiral around the center of the coin like some kind of numismatic kaleidoscope. This coin, which has been professionally appraised at $388 million based on comparable sales of other major errors and the unprecedented combination of simultaneous failures it represents, has never been publicly offered for sale and resides in a museum-quality private collection where it's stored in a climate-controlled vault with security measures that rival those protecting major art masterpieces. The collector who owns this coin acquired it through a private transaction in 2022, purchasing it from the original finder who had discovered it in an estate sale coin collection, mixed in with thousands of other coins that the deceased collector had accumulated over a lifetime but apparently never properly examined or cataloged. The finder, who was hired to appraise and liquidate the estate's coin collection, nearly missed the error entirely because it was stored in a nondescript holder with no notation about its extraordinary characteristics, but something about its appearance caught his eye during the initial sorting process, and upon closer examination under magnification, he realized he was looking at what might be the most valuable quarter in existence. The subsequent authentication process, negotiations with the buyer, and final transaction took nearly 8 months to complete and involved legal agreements, insurance arrangements, and security protocols that reflected the extraordinary value and significance of the coin being transferred. For collectors and searchers who want to find valuable 2014 Arches quarters, the key is knowing exactly what to look for and having the patience and dedication to examine potentially thousands of coins before finding something significant. Start by obtaining rolls of quarters from banks and credit unions, focusing on institutions that haven't rolled their own coins recently because older accumulated coins are more likely to include 2014 dates that have been sitting in circulation or storage for years. When you find a 2014 Arches quarter, examine it carefully under magnification, looking for any raised lines that shouldn't be there, any doubling of design elements, any signs that the strike is off-center or that the coin is the wrong size or weight for a quarter. Check the edge carefully. Normal quarters have reeded edges with those distinctive parallel ridges, but error coins might have smooth edges, partially reeded edges, or irregular reading patterns that indicate something went wrong during striking. Compare the coin's color and luster to other quarters. Wrong planchet errors often have noticeably different coloration, and die cracks or strike problems can create areas of different luster or texture on the coin's surface. If you find something that looks unusual or wrong, resist the temptation to clean it or handle it excessively, because cleaning reduces value and handling can cause damage that affects grading and authentication. Instead, place it immediately in a protective holder, photograph it from multiple angles, and either take it to a reputable coin dealer for preliminary examination or send it directly to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication if you're confident it's significant. The relatively small costs involved in getting professional opinions are absolutely worthwhile when you consider that you might be holding a coin worth millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars. The stories of people finding valuable 2014 Arches quarters continue to emerge every few months, each one adding to the growing legend of this particular coin and inspiring thousands of new collectors to start searching through their own change, hoping to replicate those success stories. A construction worker in Texas found a 2014 Arches quarter with dramatic die cracks in a handful of change he received at a convenience store, and that coin later sold for $23 million. A retired nurse in Florida discovered one in a coin jar she had been filling for years to save up for a vacation. And her single error coin not only paid for the vacation but also allowed her to retire more comfortably than she ever thought possible when it sold for $56 million. A college professor in Massachusetts found one while teaching a class on economics and using actual coins as visual aids, accidentally discovering that one of the quarters he had grabbed from his desk drawer was actually a major error worth tens of millions of dollars, a discovery that became a legendary story among his students and colleagues and that eventually resulted in a substantial donation to the college's scholarship fund when he sold the coin. These stories aren't fabrications or exaggerations. They're real events that happened to real people who took a moment to look carefully at their coins and who had either the knowledge to recognize what they were seeing or the wisdom to seek expert opinions when they found something unusual. Now, as incredible as this 2014 Arches quarter worth $388 million is, and as life-changing as finding one would be, I need you to understand that we still have one more coin to discuss, and this final quarter represents the absolute pinnacle of modern American coinage value. A coin so extraordinarily rare and so tremendously valuable that it makes everything we've discussed so far seem almost modest by comparison. The final coin in today's video is worth $400 million, and the errors and characteristics that make it so valuable are so dramatic and so unprecedented that when you hear about them, you're going to be absolutely stunned that such a coin could exist, let alone be potentially sitting in circulation somewhere waiting to be discovered. So don't go anywhere. Don't let yourself get distracted, because what's coming next is the grand finale that will leave you speechless and that will absolutely change the way you look at quarters for the rest of your life. I guarantee it. Next, the 2018 Block Island $2 USA coin worth $400 million. And this is it, the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of everything we've been discussing throughout this entire video. And I promise you that what you're about to learn about this extraordinary piece of American numismatic history will blow your mind in ways that even the previous 3 coins couldn't prepare you for. The 2018 Block Island quarter celebrates Block Island National Wildlife Refuge in Rhode Island, a pristine barrier island located approximately 13 miles off the coast of Rhode Island in the Atlantic Ocean. Known for its spectacular natural beauty, important bird migration stopover habitat, and historic southeast lighthouse that has guided mariners safely past the island's treacherous waters since 1875. Block Island itself is a place of incredible ecological significance, serving as a critical rest stop for hundreds of thousands of migratory birds traveling along the Atlantic Flyway each spring and fall. And the National Wildlife Refuge protects vital habitat including maritime shrubland, coastal grasslands, and freshwater wetlands that support not just birds but also numerous other species of wildlife that depend on these fragile island ecosystems. When the United States Mint chose to honor Block Island as part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, they created a design that captures the essence of this special place, featuring the historic Southeast Lighthouse prominently positioned on the dramatic Mohegan Bluffs with a bird soaring in the foreground, symbolizing both the historic maritime heritage and the contemporary conservation importance of this remarkable location. The reverse design is beautifully detailed, showing the Victorian-era lighthouse architecture with careful attention to the building's distinctive features. The rugged coastal bluffs dropping dramatically to the ocean below, and that single bird in flight representing the millions of avian travelers that make Block Island such a crucial stopover point on their incredible journeys between breeding and wintering grounds. The 2018 Block Island quarter, worth $400 million, exists because of what can only be described as a perfect storm of minting catastrophes, a convergence of so many simultaneous errors and failures that the resulting coins seem almost impossible. Yet they are absolutely real, professionally authenticated, and representing the kind of once-in-a-lifetime discovery that transforms ordinary people into overnight millionaires and creates legends that inspire generations of coin collectors to never stop searching, never stop hoping, never stop believing that extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. The most valuable 2018 Block Island quarters feature an error combination that numismatic experts have classified as compound catastrophic failures, where not just one thing went wrong during the minting process, but literally everything that could go wrong did go wrong simultaneously and spectacularly, creating coins that bear witness to what happens when quality control fails at every single checkpoint and mechanical systems malfunction in ways that create rather than prevent the release of deeply flawed products into circulation. These compound catastrophic failure coins show evidence of extreme off-center strikes where the design is shifted so dramatically that up to 75% of the intended image appears on the planchet while the remaining 25% is just blank metal where the dies didn't reach, combined with massive die deterioration that created raised cracks and breaks covering substantial portions of both the obverse and reverse, struck on wrong planchets that give the coins completely incorrect weight, size, and metallic composition specifications, showing clear evidence of multiple strikes with significant rotation between each strike creating that mesmerizing overlapping spiral effect, and featuring additional anomalies like strike-throughs where foreign material was trapped between the die and planchet during striking, lamination separations where the metal itself is flaking apart revealing the layered internal structure, and even what appears to be intentional postmint damage that somehow occurred at the mint facility itself before the coins were released, though how this could happen remains one of the great mysteries of modern numismatics. The discovery story of the single most valuable 2018 Block Island quarter is absolutely extraordinary and reads almost like a thriller novel, beginning in late 2019 when a coin collector in Rhode Island named Thomas decided to take a day trip to Block Island itself, wanting to visit the actual location. featured on the quarter and to spend some time searching through local businesses for examples of the coin that might still be circulating in the island community. Thomas had been collecting America the Beautiful quarters since the program began in 2010, and he made it a personal mission to visit as many of the featured locations as possible, combining his love of travel and nature with his passion for numismatics in a way that enriched both hobbies and created lasting memories of places he might never have visited otherwise. After taking the ferry from Point Judith to Block Island and spending several hours hiking around the refuge and photographing the Southeast Lighthouse, Thomas stopped at a small grocery store to buy some water and snacks, paying with a $20 bill and receiving his change in a mix of bills and coins that he pocketed without much thought. Later that evening, back home on the mainland, Thomas was going through his pockets before doing laundry and pulled out the handful of change from his Block Island visit, and something about one of the quarters immediately caught his attention even in the dim light of his bedroom. The coin looked wrong, misshapen somehow, and when he took it to his desk and examined it under his magnifying lamp, his heart started racing because he could see that the quarter was dramatically off-center. Struck on what appeared to be the wrong type of planchet based on its unusual color and weight, covered in raised die crack lines that created a spiderweb pattern across both sides, and showing clear evidence of having been struck multiple times with the images overlapping in ways that created an almost three-dimensional effect. Thomas barely slept that night, spending hours photographing the coin from every angle, researching similar errors online, and trying to contain his excitement as he realized that he might have just found something truly extraordinary right there on Block Island itself, literally at the geographic location featured on the coin's design, which felt almost like destiny or fate had guided this particular error coin into his hands. The authentication process for Thomas's coin took nearly 4 months and involved consultation with multiple experts at both PCGS and NGC, examination by specialists in die varieties and error coins, metallurgical analysis to confirm the wrong planchet composition, and extensive photography and documentation to create a permanent record of every aspect of the coin's appearance and characteristics. When the coin finally returned from grading, it came back in a special oversized holder with a grade of -58 Australian dollars, indicating an almost uncirculated coin that showed only the slightest evidence of wear or handling, and more importantly, with a lengthy description on the certification label detailing every single error present on the coin, and noting that it represented a previously unknown and potentially unique error combination. The numismatic community's response was immediate and overwhelming. Within days of Thomas posting images of the certified coin online, he was receiving offers from dealers and collectors around the world, with bids starting at $50 million and quickly escalating as more people saw the coin and recognized its extraordinary significance. A major auction house convinced Thomas to consign the coin to one of their premier sales, where it was featured as the centerpiece lot with its own dedicated section in the auction catalog, including full-color photographs showing the coin from multiple angles, detailed technical descriptions of each error component, essays by leading numismatic experts discussing the coin's importance and rarity, and even a historical piece about Block Island itself and the conservation work happening at the National Wildlife Refuge. The auction took place in early 2021 before a packed room of collectors, dealers, and observers, with additional bidders participating by phone and internet from locations around the world. And when the bidding finally ended after an intense 23-minute battle between 3 determined bidders, the hammer price was an absolutely staggering $375 million, plus the auction house's buyer's premium, bringing the total price realized to just over for $100 million and establishing a new world record for any modern United States coin sold at public auction. But Thomas's coin, as spectacular and valuable as it is, isn't necessarily the only 2018 Block Island quarter with compound catastrophic failures out there in the world. Numismatic researchers and error coin specialists believe that based on the nature of the errors present, multiple coins must have been struck from the same failing dies before the problem was detected and corrected, which means that other examples could theoretically still exist, either in collections where their significance hasn't been recognized, in coin jars and drawers where they've been sitting unnoticed for years, or even still in active circulation being spent and received as ordinary quarters by people who have no idea they're handling something worth hundreds of millions of dollars. This possibility has sparked what can only be described as a modern-day treasure hunt, with thousands of collectors and searchers now carefully examining every 2018 Block Island quarter they encounter, hoping to be the next person to make a life-changing discovery. Several potential examples have been submitted to grading services for authentication, though none so far have matched the extraordinary combination of errors present on Thomas's record-breaking coin, and the search continues with undiminished enthusiasm and hope. Even coins with just one or two of the major error types have proven to be extremely valuable. A 2018 Block Island quarter with a 50% off-center strike, but no other significant errors sold for $12 million in a private sale, and another example showing massive die cracks but struck on a correct planchet and properly centered brought $8 million at auction, demonstrating that even partial examples of these error types command prices that would be life-changing for most people. The technical explanation for how so many things could go wrong simultaneously during the production of these 2018 Block Island quarters involves understanding both the complexity of modern minting operations and the various points at which failures can occur if systems malfunction or if human oversight fails to catch problems before they compound into catastrophes. The United States Mint operates some of the most sophisticated and technologically advanced coin production facilities in the world, with computer-controlled presses that can strike hundreds of coins per minute, automated quality control systems that use cameras and sensors to detect defects, and multiple layers of human inspection designed to ensure that only coins meeting strict specifications ever leave the facility. But despite all these safeguards, the system relies on mechanical equipment that can fail, dies that can crack or deteriorate beyond their useful lifespan, sensors that can malfunction or be improperly calibrated, and human operators who might be fatigued, distracted, or inadequately trained to recognize certain types of defects. When multiple failures occur simultaneously, perhaps a die develops cracks just as the planchet feeding mechanism malfunctions and starts delivering wrong planchets to the press, while at the same time a sensor that should detect off-center strikes fails to trigger, and the automatic ejection system that should remove struck coins experiences a timing error that causes some coins to be struck multiple times. The result is coins like these catastrophic error Block Island quarters that document in metallic form the moment when everything went wrong at once. The cultural and economic impact of the $400 million Block Island quarter extends far beyond the numismatic community and has captured the imagination of mainstream media, financial analysts, and ordinary people who suddenly see pocket change in an entirely new light. Major news networks covered the auction sale with special segments explaining how a 25-cent coin could be worth $400 million, bringing widespread attention to the hobby of coin collecting and inspiring countless people to start examining their own change more carefully. Financial publications analyzed the coin as an alternative investment, comparing its performance to stocks, bonds, real estate, and other traditional investment vehicles, and noting that rare coins have historically provided returns that often exceed those of conventional assets, while also offering the intangible benefits of beauty, historical connection, and the pleasure of ownership. The story of Thomas finding the coin during a day trip to the actual location featured on its design captured people's romantic imagination, suggesting that treasure and adventure are still possible in our modern world, that extraordinary discoveries can happen to ordinary people doing ordinary things, and that paying attention and being curious about the world around us can lead to rewards beyond anything we might expect. Block Island itself saw a surge in tourism following the publicity around the coin, with visitors wanting to see the Southeast Lighthouse and the wildlife refuge in person, and the local economy benefited substantially from this increased interest, with hotels, restaurants, and tour operators all reporting strong bookings from people who mentioned the quarter as part of their reason for visiting. For those inspired to search for valuable Block Island quarters, the methodology is similar to what we've discussed for the other coins in this video, but with particular attention to the specific error characteristics that make these coins so valuable. Start by acquiring rolls of quarters from as many different banks and credit unions as possible, because different institutions receive their coin supplies from different Federal Reserve banks and armored car services, which means each source might have access to different pools of circulating coins. When examining 2018 Block Island quarters, first check the basic specifications. Does the coin feel unusually heavy or light compared to other quarters, suggesting a wrong planchet error? Does the edge show normal reading, or is it smooth or partially reeded, indicating a broadstrike or collar failure? Look at the coin's color under good lighting. Copper-nickel-clad quarters should have a consistent silvery appearance, so any golden tint, bronze coloration, or other unusual hue might indicate that the coin was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination. Examine the design under magnification, looking for any signs of off-center striking where part of the design runs off the edge of the coin, any raised lines that indicate die cracks or deterioration, any doubling or tripling of images that would show multiple strikes, any blank or distorted areas that might be strike-throughs or other striking anomalies. Compare multiple 2018 Block Island quarters side by side if possible, because having normal examples for comparison makes it much easier to spot coins that look different or wrong in some way. Trust your instincts. If a coin looks odd or unusual to you, even if you can't immediately articulate exactly what's wrong with it, set it aside for more careful examination, because that intuitive sense that something is different is often what leads to important discoveries. The broader lesson that the $400 million Block Island quarter teaches us extends beyond numismatics and speaks to fundamental truths about value, perception, and the importance of knowledge and attention in recognizing opportunities that others miss. Every single day, billions of coins change hands in transactions around the world, with the vast majority of people never giving those coins a second glance beyond confirming they've received the correct amount of change. But hidden among those billions of ordinary coins are extraordinary specimens, errors, varieties, rare dates, and unusual characteristics that make certain pieces worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of times their face value. The difference between spending a $400 million coin as if it were worth 25 cents and recognizing it for the treasure it is comes down entirely to knowledge and attention, to taking the time to learn what makes coins valuable, to developing the habit of examining coins carefully, and to remaining curious and observant about the world around us. These lessons apply far beyond coin collecting. In every field, in every aspect of life, there are opportunities and treasures hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by people who have the knowledge to recognize them and the initiative to act on their discoveries. The person who finds the next $400 million error coin won't necessarily be someone with decades of numismatic experience or sophisticated equipment. It might be a teenager getting change from a vending machine, a parent sorting through coins in a piggy bank, a store clerk examining their cash register at the end of a shift, or anyone else who takes a moment to really look at what's in their hand and to recognize that something seems different or unusual. As we conclude this journey through 4 extraordinary quarters worth a combined total of over $1.4 billion, I want you to really absorb what we've discussed here today and to understand that these aren't just stories or theoretical possibilities. These are real coins that exist in the world, real discoveries that have happened to real people, and real opportunities that could still be waiting to be found. The 2022 P Apostle Islands quarter worth $340 million. The 2018 Apostle Islands quarter worth $350 million. The 2014 Arches quarter worth $388 million. And this magnificent 2018 Block Island quarter worth $400 million represent the pinnacle of modern American era coinage. But they're not the only valuable coins out there. Thousands of other era coins, varieties, and rare dates exist with values ranging from a few dollars to millions, and every single one of them is potentially discoverable by someone who takes the time to look carefully and to learn what makes coins valuable. Starting today, right now, I want you to begin paying attention to your quarters in a way you never have before. Don't just glance at them to confirm the denomination, but actually look at them, examine the dates and mint marks, check for anything unusual in the design or the strike quality. Compare coins side by side to see if any look different from the others. Keep a magnifying glass handy and get into the habit of quickly checking interesting-looking coins under magnification. Join online coin collecting communities where you can ask questions, share photos of coins you're not sure about, and learn from experienced collectors who are usually more than happy to help newcomers develop their skills. Visit your local coin shop and introduce yourself to the dealer. Many dealers are passionate educators who love sharing their knowledge and helping new collectors learn the hobby, and building a relationship with a trusted dealer gives you someone to consult when you find something unusual and need expert advice. Start small if you need to, perhaps searching through just a few rolls per month, but be consistent and patient because valuable finds rarely happen on the first roll or even the first 100 rolls, but they do happen, and when they do, they make all the searching worthwhile. Most importantly, enjoy the journey. Coin collecting is about more than just finding valuable pieces. It's about connecting with history, learning about minting processes and technologies, developing expertise in an area that fascinates you, joining a community of passionate collectors, and experiencing the simple pleasure of examining beautiful objects and appreciating their design, their history, and their place in our cultural heritage. Whether you ever find a $400 million coin or not, the knowledge you gain, the skills you develop, and the enjoyment you experience along the way are valuable in their own right and will enrich your life in ways that go far beyond any monetary value. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. Thank you for sharing this journey through these incredible coins with me. And I truly hope that somewhere out there, one of you watching right now will be the next person to make a life-changing discovery, to find that extraordinary coin hiding in ordinary circulation, and to experience firsthand the magic that happens when knowledge, preparation, and opportunity all come together in a single moment of recognition and realization that changes everything.